Hi, I'm working on a journal and I want to make an embellishment that will hold my little paper clip that I'm going to include with the journal. I've made one on another album before, or another journal before this one, and it's a little flower that I made, and I attached the paper clip through a piece of ribbon. So I'm just going to show you quickly how I did this. It's really easy and it makes your embellishment useful at the same time. So I start off with a piece of lace, and this measures about 12 inches long. So I'm going to cut that. And I threaded some embroidery floss on a needle. I like using the embroidery floss because it's nice and sturdy. It's not going to break. And I'm going to start weaving this. Now this is the top of my lace, so I'm going to start by pushing my needle down from the top to the back, and then I'm just going to weave this in and out all the way through. Now as I approach the end, because I started top down, I'm going to finish up bottom up, and that way when I gather up my lace, both raw edges will fit in together like that. So now I'm just going to tie a knot. And you want to leave enough of a tail at the end, because I'm going to stitch my little ribbon on here, and then I'm going to tie a knot to hold the ribbon to. Okay. So this is going to be the bottom of my flower, and I can do a couple of stitches here just to hold this together. Like that. I don't even need to go all the way to the end. And then I'll just go back towards the center, like that. I'll do a couple of stitches here. And I'm not going to pull too tight because I don't want to ruffle this. Okay, now I'm going to go back up to the top of my flower. Make sure this is nice and even. So there's my little tail. Like that. So I'm going to tie a little piece of ribbon on here, and I think I'll just fold that. I'll just cut this off. So I'm going to fold this under like that, and then I'm going to fold this back up here. So this piece measures 3 inches. So I'm going to fold it in 3 sections, and the end here is going to be tucked in underneath like that, so it's not sticking out like that, otherwise it's going to be visible. So I'm going to make sure it's tucked in like that. And then I'm going to position this on my flower, and I'm going to stitch here and here. And then underneath, I'm going to go across and stitch this side down. I want to make sure I've got the 3 layers in there. And I'm going to tie this underneath. So I'm just going to pull this off. Now this little piece here, I think I'm just going to thread it through my needle and stick it underneath the flower. There, that way I can tie my knot underneath where it won't be visible. So this can just slide in here like that, and I can just leave that dangling like that. But I'm not finished because I want to put a flower on here, and you can either, I think I'm just going to stitch this flower on because I haven't warmed up my glue gun anyways, and it'll be easy to stitch on. So I threaded my needle, and I'm going to start by putting the needle inside the top layer of my ribbon. I don't want to go all the way through because then I won't be able to put my paper clip in. So I can even slide this in here just to make sure that I'm not going to go all the way through. And then I can place the flower. And then I'm going to tie my knot. You can do a few stitches in there if you prefer. I think one will hold this in place quite well because this embroidery floss is quite strong. And I think I will heat up my glue gun and just put a little bit of glue here to hold it in place. And again, I'm going to make sure that the glue doesn't seep through to the lace part so that I can run my paper clip through. So I'm going to just glue this in place. And I want to make sure that my paper clip will still slide in there. And I think I'll put a little bit on this side too. That's good. So now I can decide where I want to put it on my journal, and I can also have it on the front cover, and I can put it with my little paper clip facing on the right, and then my little dangle can face down like that, and that makes a very pretty cover embellishment just on its own like that. But I think for this one I'm going to put it on the side. It's going to cover up some of the stitching, and I'm going to angle it like that so that this does dangle down a little bit on a slight angle. Now before I do this, I'm going to attach my ribbon closure. So I cut my 2 pieces of seam binding to the length that I need, and to measure the length, just wrap it around your journal and tie a bow, and then cut the length accordingly. So before I attach it, I'm going to tie these 2 pieces together so that it's more stable. So I'm going to find the middle. And then I'm just going to put a few stitches in here. So now I'm going to hot glue it to the spine of my journal. And by the way, this is just a book. I removed the paper cover, and I like the plain cover, so I just left it like that, and I put some fabric over the spine and on the inside here where I stitched the pages, and then I covered the front and back inside with scrapbook paper. So to attach this, I'm going to run my ribbon underneath the stitching. So I like to run it underneath the top stitching, and then I'm going to pull it down as close to the middle as possible. You want to make sure that your ribbon is laying flat, both pieces, like that. And then I'm going to make sure it's centered. Like that. Even if my stitching isn't right in the center, it doesn't matter because the flower will cover that anyways. So I'm going to put some hot glue underneath the ribbon. Like that, and I'm going to push it as much as possible towards the center. And you want to make sure you get all these hot glue filaments off. I find there's nothing worse than finishing a project and having to pull off all these little filaments. Okay, next I'm going to attach my flower. And that's going to go like that. Again, make sure your glue doesn't go through the lace of your flower and stick to whatever you've got on top. So there's my finished embellishment with my little paperclip holder. And also you can tie the ribbon in front. I don't know if I'm going to put anything on there or not, since I put my embellishment on the side. I do like the plain cover, but what you can do too is just tie the ribbon so that it ties, so that the bow is on the front. Like that. I really suck at making knots and bows. Anyways. So there you go. So I hope you found this little tutorial useful. Very quick, super simple to do. Not difficult, but yet I find that this adds a little something extra that differentiates your elements on your journal. So have a nice day and happy scrapping. Bye.